I've been hating Apple for their choice of words every time they launch a new iPhone. They always slap on words like all new or completely redesigned when almost nothing was being changed in the iPhone every single year. Recently, I went to the mall with my old iPhone XS Max, which is a 5-year-old phone at this point, and I compared it with the latest iPhone. Apple has been very slow to improve their phones, but over time you'll be surprised to know how much things actually changed. And to Apple's defense, I think they're at the top, so they've been refining their products instead of completely innovating them. And I think it's a good move, especially when all these innovative phones like those folding phones perhaps can barely work when you need them. So today we're taking a look at the tiny but solid improvements that the iPhone 15 Pro Max has over last year's Pro Max models. First things first, the base model iPhone 15 is basically the same as last year's iPhone, but with a dynamic island, USB-C, and slightly better cameras. So that's why we're taking a focus towards the iPhone 15 Pro Max. One of the first things that Apple has pushed so hard to advertise these days is the all-new design, which I actually agree. I mean, it's not an all-new design to the point that it looks different. It's what it's made out of and how it feels in the hand. So the new iPhones are made out of titanium instead of stainless steel or aluminum, which makes them lighter and nicer on the hand. Now, if you notice, the premium phones we had these recent years are heftier and thicker due to them having more features inside, and we've always associated heavy and chunky phones as a good thing. Well, Apple is turning that back around and going back to making their phones lighter, and they succeeded, which makes holding and feeling this new iPhone so weird. At first I thought, wow, this feels cheap. But of course, the cold metal reminds you that this is in fact a premium metal phone. Another huge thing that's new for the iPhone is USB-C. Yes, they've been forced by the EU to do this, but hey, props to Apple for making this work well on the Pro Max. You have 25 watts charging now, which is still slow in today's standard, but still an improvement. With that said, you can now connect the iPhone to more displays, to more tools, and more peripherals like keyboards. But one thing that I can think of that might actually be useful is its ability to directly record a video to an external hard drive via USB-C, which can be a great thing if you use an iPhone for video production, and I know a ton of content creators do that. Unfortunately, the USB-C ports found on the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus are not as good since Apple limited its speed down to USB 2.0 speed. For context, USB 3.0, which the Pro models use, can reach 10 gigabits per second in transfer speed, while USB 2.0 can only reach a max speed of 480 megabits per second, which is just too slow, especially if you're transferring 4K videos over USB. Matter of fact, AirDrop is even faster at 1 gigabit per second. But I guess this is Apple's way of separating the Pro features, but come on, I doubt it'll cost much for them to have full USB 3.0 support. As for the performance, did it improve over last year's Pro iPhones? These new iPhones have the A17 Pro chip, and I think it's noteworthy that this is the first iPhone chip to bear a Pro name. It was always Bionic chip back then. But that is not the most significant part about it. It's also a 3nm chip. And yes, the iPhone 15 Pro and the Pro Max are the first phones to have a 3nm chip inside them. And I bet it'll stay that way for a whole year, probably even 2 years. Anyway, what's so impressive about it? Well, smaller process sizes such as the 4 or 3nm chips are more power efficient. And you can even fit a ton more transistors in a whole chip, which, of course, can translate to more processing power. To give you the context of how small it really is, the A17 Pro chip has 19 billion transistors inside. So, if all human beings on Earth were to shrink down in size and function as transistors, we'd still be less powerful than this chip. With that said, there aren't a lot of things you can do with all this power on an iPhone, but one of the new things that you can do is play Resident Evil Village on this phone. And no, it's not a cloud version, it's played natively. And yes, it's not a completely new mobile version, it's almost the same as the PlayStation version of the game, which is mind-blowing to think about. There are more games coming such as Assassin's Creed Mirage, but yeah, if it can play full ports of AAA games, this could be in the running as the best gaming phone ever. I hope the game library grows over time. And if you're wondering how this chip can even run those titles, then welcome to the club. But I'll just say this, the A17 chip is almost as powerful as an M1 chip. That's how substantial it is. It's not all without its issues though, as some of you might recall. The latest iPhones made the news due to its overheating issues, but luckily as of the making of this video, it's all resolved. Now, how about the battery life of the iPhone 15 Pro Max? It has 4,422 mAh battery, and according to Apple, it can reach a whopping 29 hours of continuous video playback. It's not the best, but knowing how small the battery is compared to other Android phones and how powerful the A17 Pro chip is, it's mildly impressive. Of course, as we mentioned, the charging wattage is still at 25 watts. And you usually still need to charge this every night or every other night. So if you want to get a good charging experience, a MagSafe charger sounds pretty good. It's a bit expensive and it's another purchase, but trust me, it's a better experience, so I'll also leave a link in the description box for that. Another thing that most people usually think of with an iPhone is its camera performance. So with the iPhone 15 Pro, you now have a new 48 megapixel main camera, a new ultra-wide camera with better macro functionalities, and a better telephoto camera with 3 times optical zoom on the iPhone 15 Pro and 5 times zoom on the 15 Pro Max. Of course, it's still not as great with the zoom that Samsung offers on their phones, but it's still a nice feature to finally have nonetheless. Of course, all these don't sound that impressive on paper, but the difference is in the software. iPhones have great capabilities in computational photography, which means that every time you take a photo, the phone actually takes multiple photos, one with the most detail, one with the most light, one with the best details on the shadow, and it combines it in real time to give you a great picture. But yeah, overall photo performance is very good on the iPhone Pro Max. If you want to see how it compares to other phones, you can check our video about it, links in the description below. But it's not all about photos. iPhones have been pretty good with videos these past few years, and they have the best video cameras on phones for a while now. So it's no surprise that they have added a few things to keep their crown. First off, I already mentioned this, but you can record straight to an external drive. But the best new feature on this phone, especially for videographers, is the addition of log format. We already have raw video, but log support just takes it to a whole other level. The last new feature that the iPhone 15 Pro has is the action button, which effectively replaces the Ring's silent switch. And yes, it's just a button that you can assign a ton of shortcuts to. You can use it as a Ring silent button, you can use it to quickly open the camera, and you get the idea. But is it actually worth it? Well, I think this is one of Apple's poor designs. It's placed way up top that it's not convenient to use. Maybe if you're left-handed and have big hands, you might reach it easily with your thumb, but yeah, it takes some unnecessary effort to press, and it's quite useless in my book. But how about you? Can you think of other uses for this button? Let us know in the comments below. But that's it for our iPhone 15 Pro Max review. So, is the iPhone 15 Pro Max worth getting? Here's my general rule with iPhones. If you already have one, unless it's super old, it's not worth getting the latest one all the time. But if you come from Androids and older iPhones, or if you really need the best video camera on a phone, then I highly recommend giving the iPhone 15 Pro Max a try. And surprisingly, I can also recommend this to some gamers. I mean, with capabilities to run AAA titles, it's pretty tempting. But of course, the AAA library is still small. But with that, I'm sure this can run all available games on the App Store with ease. With that said, if you're interested in the iPhone, just scan this QR code or check the links in the description box below. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing and comment your thoughts down below. But for now, this is Marty, and I'll see you in the next video.